Okay, so as you can see, each year at Wordapp we do a charity, and this normally is kind of a formula where you, our freelancers, work extra hard, and in return, Wordapp as a company adds a bit on top of each task and create a bunch of money, which we then donate to a charity that we select together. However, this December, as you can see, the cause is already selected. It's global warming and preventing future pandemics. And I hope you can excuse me when I explain why. It all started actually with an article that I read in The Economist about the cause of the pandemic, the COVID-19. And it's very related to global warming. So obviously, global warming is incredibly bad, and it's likely that our planet will look a bit like a desert, or our children will live in kind of a desert that looks a bit like hell on this picture if we continue like we do. On the positive side, we are doing a lot better individually. And although I'm a big fan of Greta Thunberg, she did her protest in August, on 20th of August 2018, she refused to go to school because she was protesting about the climate change. But actually, as you can see in this graph, the downward trend on carbon dioxide emissions per capita has been going down for, decades even. We can actually look at it here, and in 1979, each person in Sweden were emitting 10 metric tons of carbon dioxide, and in 2014 this was 4.5 metric tons. It's actually about the same now. That's why I used this graph. And as you can see, also Germany is doing a bit worse, and US is actually twice of Germany, so it's close to 16 tons. Those guys, they're not very environmentally friendly with all their cars and stuff. Okay, the bad news is that although we're doing a lot better, I recycle, companies are recycling, we are really conscious about it, especially in Sweden. And in Switzerland, and globally as individuals, we're doing good. The problem is that as we become more people, the aggregated output, even if we're doing better, it becomes too much. And if you look at this graph here, you see that the projected forecast is not looking good at all. This is basically a disaster. It's kind of the desert slide that I just showed you, with more storms and that kind of stuff as well. And the reasons for this are, more people is more agriculture, more houses. We like to live in nice houses, obviously, more industry, more cars. Even if Elon Musk is trying to solve electric cars and has initiated a trend there, there's still a lot of developing countries or other transportation where this won't have an effect right away. And then finally, electricity. How can we live without electricity? Another problem is that the more we become, the less space there is for animals, because animals tend to like to live in forests. And right now, we're basically destroying Amazonas. If I would be a politician that had some power, US, Russian, or something like that, I would basically send an army there and stop that. I think that would be pretty reasonable. And there's also another problem with this. So as animals that have not been in contact with people before, as they lose their homes, they also transmit viruses. So the bat guy here, which we think is the origin of COVID-19, which has basically, I mean, not only destroyed the economy, but killed, I mean, and really hurt millions of people globally. We are setting ourselves up for total disaster because these animals are thought to be able to transmit up to 750,000 new viruses to us. So the only thing you can, based on this math, I mean, 750,000 viruses, there is going to be a new pandemic. That's guaranteed. Okay, and we're getting better at solving it. On the other hand, who knows what comes next? I mean, we used to have, we used to have other viruses like this before, but this is the worst one so far. So probably they get even worse next time. And these guys, they're obviously not going to solve it. I mean, the politicians, they don't do anything. And I was thinking then, like, okay, what can I do about it? I mean, how can I make an impact to people? And how can the companies that I'm involved with, how can they make an impact? It needs to be something simple. And I read about a project called the Trillion Trees Program, which is basically, they say that if we plant or we save a trillion trees, we could halt global warming. A trillion trees is about 30 to 40% more of all the trees we have globally. So it's not like unachievable. However, it's kind of hard to understand, and or like it's too big. 1 trillion is I don't know if you count it. I think you would count like for 100 years or something if you wouldn't sleep in between. And but what we do know though is that trees are good for us. They're obviously good for us. So they improve air quality. They give shades, which reduces urban heat, and they give us fresh water. And finally, they kind of are like our first defense against 700,000 new potential COVIDs. And there are arguments and saying like, yeah, but planting trees is probably not it's not the final solution and all that stuff. But I think like if we just agree that like I like to have trees around, I like to have plants around, and they are good for us, then maybe we won't halt the global warming, but at least we can do something. And the question then becomes, what can we do about it that is simple enough? And what can everybody do about it? And if we focus on one day at a time, and I got this, I like very simple ideas, and that makes you feel good. And in Sweden, if we divide 4.5 metric tons with, and this is the same in 2020, I said that before also, it's about 12 kilos per day. And 12 kilos per day, that is not so much anymore. And it's actually, if you look at this guy here, he is compensating 12 kilos a year for about 20 years. So this would mean that if we manage to plant 1 tree like that, we would climate compensate New Year's Eve for 20 years, or julafton, or birthdays, or whatever days you think is important. And then it becomes more tangible. And I just was curious now, see what was the guy's name. So he cost €8 here. I don't think it cost €8. Okay, I have to browse this. But I mean, here on Tree Nation, where we have a profile for our companies, you can plant trees here, and this is the solution we're going to use to plant these trees. One place being Madagascar, because they also have a lot of animals there that are like losing their homes, so to speak. In IT, when you talk about platforms and you go to investors, there's something called the viral coefficient, which is basically how a virus spreads, or how an idea spreads, or how other users are recruiting other users. And if we would beat the virus at its own game, and that's the way we designed it now for Wordapp. So the idea here is that if you recruit two people that then recruit two people that then recruit two people, it will grow by itself. So the solution we designed was that, starting with us, for each 20 Wordapp tasks that we complete in December, you will climate compensate not yourself, but two of your best friends. So there will be like at the end of December, 29th probably, we will look at all the tasks that has been completed in December, and for each 20, we will let you select two friends where you can climate compensate a given day. It doesn't have to be New Year's Eve, of course. It could be your husband's or wife's birthday, or your children's I don't know. Your children's birthday will be normal, and maybe your anniversary or something like that. And hopefully we could compensate a lot. And these people are probably not going to be part of Wordapp. So what we hope for is that when they get this tree and this idea and maybe this video, they will help spreading it to some other friends, and then we get this snowball rolling. And as a bonus for doing this, if you do 20 Wordapp tasks in December, you will also get the free PayPal transfer, because I mean, we should give something extra. This is actually the webinar, the webinar that I'm going to hold today. But as always, I have a bit of time for questions, and doesn't have to be related to this presentation. I hope that when we have uploaded it to YouTube, that you guys can spread it. We will also send out an email to all Wordappers, every 20,000 of them, and ask them to start doing some tasks in Wordapp. And these tasks can be product descriptions, surveys, badge tree tasks. It doesn't really matter as long as they're completed. So if I go to the chat here, and does anyone have any questions related to this or anything else that you want to ask me? I will give it a couple of minutes. And like normal, it's pretty quiet. So Sanna, did anyone ask you anything here in the Q&A? No?
No, they didn't.
Okay. And let's see who is here. Oh, there's a raised hand here. Jan is raising a hand. I wonder how that works. Lower
Now
hand.
there is one question in Q&A.
Okay, perfect. Can you write it here in the? Okay, I will check. I can't open that for some reason. Can you write it in chat, please?
Yeah.
Copy paste it. Yeah, Sanna, how's it going? Ah, here. Okay. Okay, so Jane, hi, are asking about reward points. So a free PayPal transfer is basically 10 reward points. That's what it means. If you're asking about receiving reward points for, I'm assuming, English tasks, there's, I mean, for batch 1 or similar, right now the quota for that is full. So the only way to do it is to reach out to claire@wordapp.com, and I can write it here. And ask her to assign them to you. However, she would expect you to be a very, very good writer. Otherwise, you have to wait for the next batch. We currently have like close to 50 English people. So it depends a bit on the language. See if there's anyone else here in the chat. Or the participants that is raising their hands. No, I don't think so. Okay, then I think I will email this out, and please start sharing with it and mentioning it in your webinars also. I will cut off the part with the questions, obviously. I wish you guys a very nice evening, and thanks for joining. Bye-bye.